is that it's going to be breezy. It's always great to come back here, and it's so festive. This is true where we've been, Arizona, California, and then getting here. But in fact, right above the racetrack, they've got one of those. I don't know if it's a walkthrough light up park. I'm sure we'll see it one night leading up to Saturday. It looks looks nice. I'm always impressed here because when you come out for the night racing, they absolutely throng the place with parties. I mean, the Christmas parties, and I'm sure this has been true for the last few weeks. And in fact, Nick Tamaro mentioned that Sam Houston's that even without racing right now, that they do a big job with the holiday party scene. So things are going to all boil down to Saturday night, and I'm just reaching because I haven't had a chance to even mention the field. So got to put that on the top of the list. There we go. Sirius 162, XM 207, Sports Zone 999, and at the website, stevebyk.com. Before I glance at this, let me give you a feel for what we're doing today. First visit before we talk to Dick Powell and Sid. Clark Booster will join us in about 10 minutes. And if you did not see yesterday's news regarding the HISA provisional suspension, as they term them, but the hearing officer, Armand Leon, basically agreed with HISA's premise that Rudy Rodriguez was not providing and had not been providing the proper level of care in regards to these, the horses that were vet listed, and there'll be a full hearing in a few weeks. In the meantime, Rudy is suspended, and I'll let Clark talk about what is really at odds here, because a lot of this, when you read accounts of the hearing and what the hearing officer said, there's a lot of procedural elements to the chain of events, and it seems like the decision hinged on Secret Rules, who was fatally injured in a workout, and I'm gonna let Clark explain what chain of events essentially their perspective is being offered versus the assertion that working the horse out when they did is a indication of, to use the word cruelty in here is, it seems to me over the top, but and it seems like it's a not a tactic of trying this in the court of public opinion. It's going to be a very difficult. I think it's difficult to discern, where the right and wrong essentially may have happened in all of these cases, and it's very complex, and because each horse obviously, you go through the vet records. You also have a number of horsemen who have either been in a barn with Rudy. I heard from one this morning that was with him. That comes at Saratoga and was stabled with Rudy for 2 summers, and absolutely. I mean, if asked to testify on Rudy's behalf, would absolutely do it. He says, he said the level of care, absolutely attentive and of high quality. I don't, and there's been a number of other. I mean, any number of horsemen that have spoken up on Rudy's behalf, but there's also these incidents. So where the truth is, and the question almost becomes, under the current level of scrutiny that we're under as an industry, where does where is the line here of what qualifies as mistreatment, or a level of attentiveness that that's required. Simply, this, to me, this is an exceedingly difficult and complex scenario. So we'll let Clark. One part of this that is, to some degree, there's some uncertainty, I think, generated by, this hearing officer and some of the people that have heard these presentations that may have no real understanding. I mean, that's the beauty of having somebody like Clark Brewster, as your attorney. I mean, Clark has a lifetime of horsemanship at his disposal to apply to the case and to the topic. I mean, I've heard from people that have gone in front of HISA, in front of these hearing officers that know nothing about it, really. That are hearing, equine terms and the parts of the game, the industry that is all new to them. You want your career. You want your career in those hands. Anyway. I chewed on this flying from California, and I don't know. Dick Powell, after we talked to Clark, and I put up the Happy Valley pick 3. In fact, let's see where. Well, may have to utilize a different ADW approach here to get the signal from for Hong Kong. Let's see if that's the case. Yeah, I think it is. Let me see how much time we got. There's 3 minutes to the 8th, and make it 2 minutes to the 8th, and if you're looking for a double 6-7 with 2-6-12, had a 11-1 shot. Start the pick 3. So Andre Etseni and John Size, $24. So no pick 3 today. We'll check in with Sid. Sire Watch Pedigree Focus brought to you by Hill and Dale. And got to catch up with Seth. I haven't talked to Seth in ages. And I know he went away actually for he traveled. I know, so we'll catch up with Seth and Bob Baffert, who's in Tennessee. You want to feel old? he traveled. He and Jill went to Tennessee for Bodie's 21st birthday. Bodie Baffert, 21. Which doesn't seem, basically, everybody saw Bodie kind of grow up in front of you on television. So there's part of your lineup. Let me mention before Clark joins us, this Remington Springboard Mile, and field to be led by Spice Runner, who, if Spice Runner wins, Steve Asmussen and the Winchell team, they're going to, something tells me they're going to want me to fly around and be wherever he runs. Because, of course, I was there for the Iroquois and presented the trophy when he won the Iroquois. So he comes in as probably the favorite and the most accomplished. But it's a nice varied field that came together. We mentioned yesterday, in fact, in California, George Weaver's got 5G getting ready for the La Brea, the New York bred. Well, Mike Maker and Paradise show up with Arctic Beast, who is a 3-for-3 New York bred. That much like the conversation we had yesterday with Pat Devereaux with an undefeated Louisiana bred. Here's similarly a 3-for-3 New York bred, Arctic Beast, a Yoppin, and coming out of the Breeders' Fraternity and the Aspirant. Broke the maiden at Saratoga, and has figs that are very competitive, but is stretching out for the first time. 2 turns. Asmussen's also got from Mike McCarthy the Not This Time. Time for Music. Coming out of an allowance try. Broke the maiden at Keeneland. Essential Time for Danny Pish. That's the local stake shots. Essential Time and Essential Quality that the Greens bred, DJ Stable. And horse that won the Clever Trevor as a maiden. Royal American for CR. The Oklahoma bred, CR Trout's upstart, Gelding. Never worse than second in 4 starts. 2 wins, 2 seconds. Seems okay. Just coming out of the McNeil win. Going a mile. My Dream Zapper. Stetson Rushton. Making a 2-turn debut. Horse has been good at Arapahoe. A Ghost Zapper colt. $11,000. Ontario bred. For Rushton. Supreme Good. McPeak. Started the career on grass at Saratoga. Chris Elliott riding, and Stewie is riding Spice Runners. They're kind of cool that they Chris and Stu line up shoulder to shoulder. Asmussen has got Way Beyond for Ed and Susie Orr. Twirling Candy, Colt out of the Jean Lafitte. Western Man, first out winner for Joe Ofalter. Another local trying the spot. Code West gelding. Big Apple Patrick for Danny Leach. First out winner at Churchill. And Moquette tries again. Last year ran into a buzzsaw. Jets Rio, Candy Ride Colt for Bowen Racing, and broke the maiden last right here. Going a mile. And Express Kid, Wade Rarick, off an allowance win on the grass, returns to the dirt. Bodie Express Colt, Calbred. So we got a little everything. Calbred, Oklahoma bred, New York bred, Irish bred. It's Ontario bred. Little everything. Nice. That's your springboard mile. And of course the rest of the card, very nice. The Toby Keith and the She's All In and the Hawk Memorial. Nice card. So start to look forward to that. Don't forget, of course, we got Turfway, and Laurel's got the Christmas Tide Stakes slate as well. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. Fairgrounds, we've got. Don't forget the Gun Runner and the Untappable, and that. It's going to be a good weekend as we move toward the holiday. All right, let's. Clark Brewster is waiting, and he's with us now. Clark, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Coming to you from Remington. Clark, explain, from your perspective, explain what this hearing officer determined. Let's start with that, and then we'll work toward, the next steps.
So we're talking, obviously, about the Ruby Rodriguez matter, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So we had a hearing in front of the hearing officer on Friday, and it was just a Zoom hearing. And originally, as you and I had spoken before, they listed these 16 horses they had inquiry about. And I think it really got pared down to one or two. Right? There wasn't really much debate. Actually, I don't think Kaiser put on any evidence with regard to most of the horses. And so the issue became whether, if a horse is placed on the vet's list, what obligations does the trainer and the trainer's attending vet have with regard to making sure that horse is returned to the racetrack safely and in a way in which we can all trust that the horse is sound and fit to race. And so that's what it centered upon. And although I don't agree with what the hearing examiner found ultimately or determined, I have respect for it. And we have to. That's the way our jurisprudential system must work when a court renders a ruling or an order, notwithstanding any disagreement you may have on reliance of things you may disagree with. You have to have respect for it. And I think that the HISA lawyers, which were always very respectful and diligent in this matter, as well as we tried to be the same, the circumstances are such, what can we do to satisfy any HISA concerns and meet the objectives of the order set forth by Judge Leone in this matter? And that's what we're in the midst of doing. One of the things, it just came down to one of the horses that was on the vet's list, this horse named Secret Rules, was placed on the vet's list and then worked out, and the regulatory vet found that he wasn't sound enough to return to the races, and he was extended on the vet's list. And then 9 days later, the horse galloped and fractured a pasture. So there was great concern over the scrutiny lent to that horse. But I don't know, many people that listen to the show and the public itself that might not be as closely tuned into what happens with regard to getting a horse returned or even to the starting gate. But when a horse is on the vet's list, he's carefully examined. First of all, he's carefully examined both by the again after work and then approves him. And then if he's entered in a race, he has to be examined pre-entry or the day of entry and approved. And then on the day of the race in the morning, he's examined by the regulatory vet, jogged and looked over and felt, and then they approve him. And then the regulatory vets observe him in the paddock, warming up on the racetrack and then the gates. So there's a tremendous amount of scrutiny. What Judge Leone said in his order is that when a horse is on the vet's list, the attending vet must do an examination within 48 hours of that horse. Now, that's not in the rules. That's the first time that's ever been pronounced in this ruling. And Rudy, in my guidance and counsel to him, is whatever the rules are, we're going to comply with. And that's never been one that was any kind of rule that was set forth. I guess Judge Leone asserts that basically as a commonsensical rule that we have to evaluate the horse. In truth, what happens is when the horse is on the vet's list, the attending vet looks at it daily until he's approves him to work for the regulatory vet. So it's just a matter of don't play the game if you don't follow the rules. But on the other hand, what are the rules? So we're working closely, or hope to work closely with HISA to resolve any concerns they have and get Rudy back up racing horses. One thing that was really just completely undisputed, and I asked the regulatory vets who testified, is Rudy Rodriguez a good caretaker? Yes. Have you ever seen a horse in his stable that you felt in some way wasn't being properly cared for in all respects? No. So there was no issues. I mean, if the public is alarmed or concerned, Rudy Rodriguez is an excellent caretaker without a question. The issue here simply dealt with the attending vet and how early and how documented he must be in connection with examining a horse that's on the vet's list.
A couple of elements, Clark, in terms of familiarity with racing and with the process involved. How how accomplished or familiar is Judge Leone?
Well, Judge Leone is really a remarkable individual. I mean, he's accomplished so much in his life. He's actually a medical doctor and a lawyer. He's got an MBA, and he's an eventer, a hunter jumper eventer, and he's
cool.
Competed at events around the world. I have high regard for him. I don't think specifically that he has a lot of experience with this industry, but I think that he was conscientious and was trying to do the right thing with an abundance of caution. And believe me, I have total respect for any ruling that was rendered here. I don't agree with the bases of it, and I don't agree with putting down a rule that's never been put down for these trainers to follow. So this is kind of a, after the fact, kind of an ad hoc imposition. That being said, we'll follow it. I mean, I've learned in my career as a lawyer, you can fight hard in the courtroom, but when a court makes a ruling, you have to respect that. And then, of course, in this instance, we'll have another full-blown hearing now. This was kind of a preliminary hearing dealing with provisional suspension. And certainly we have rights up the chain that we will assert. We have respect for Judge Leone.
Excellent. When I introduced the conversation for what we were anticipating, having read the various accounts, this really does seem to boil down to a lot of procedural and the portal and the record keeping and the chain of what occurs with a horse that gets put on the vet's list. When we talked last month, as it happens, I mean, we had Scherzando who got put on the vet's list, and we weeks went by, and the vet, the regulatory vet wouldn't even let us work to try to get off the list. And I mean, then finally, he did work and passed. It took like 6 weeks before they would even let you work out to get approval to enter. So there's, I don't want to say the goalposts get moved, but it's an involved process. And is that what this is all going to come down to? The mechanics of
if I was going to be critical of a HISA rubric or rule set, I mean, they conflict with one another, and sometimes they're ambiguous. And one of the things that I kind of pressed on in this hearing was it says that the regulatory vets that either work for HISA, in this instance they work for NIRA, but they're under the HISA supervision in essence, by virtue of the HISA agreement that NIRA and the Gaming Commission has with HISA. But it says that the regulatory vets shall examine and file with the authority that day their inspection and their examination. Well, that would be incredibly helpful if we could see that, but they have a secret portal that they file in. So my point was, hey, listen, if they're seeing something, and the attending vet should know, so that there's a collaboration and a transparency. The fact that you're doing these examinations and speaking with the attending vet, how could we really fully understand what you're thinking and what we need to do? Because I always believe that reasonable people with the same set of facts will reach the same conclusion. We just want what's best for the horse. And I say this without reservation. There's nobody in this industry that's more caring and more absolutely hands-on than Rudy Rodriguez. In his stable, he'll ride every one of them in a week, and sometimes multiple times in the morning. He knows. And so I have, when someone says the vet says the horse is off, and Steve Asmussen's looked at the same horse and says it's not, I would have a tendency to rely on the trainer that's hands-on with that horse every single day that's got decades of experience, just like Rudy Rodriguez. In this instance, the issue is whether the vet that's near the stable and is reporting has examined and placed in the portal within whatever hours that the judge suggests he should do. That's it. It wouldn't have made it, incidentally, it would not have made a difference. In this instance, for example, the horse was placed on the vet's list because he was 2-5 out front. So he was 2 out of 5 lame left front. And Dr. Baker testified that would be mildly lame. And that's why he was placed on the vet's list. What happened was he had a foot issue, and he had a 3/4 shoe on his right side, and they theorized that it was the foot, and that's what the vet thought as well, the attending vet. The horse broke down on the right side. He fractured a pastern. It was not suspected. There was no indication. When you palpated the pastern, it was clean. So there's nothing about the defalcation that Dr. Leon found here in the fact that he wasn't examined by the racetrack vet within 48 hours. It would have had nothing to do with it because the right pastern was not suspected. It was not an issue. And so it was a unusual catastrophic injury, but it had nothing to do with any kind of lack of care or improper care. But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we follow Judge Leon's ruling to the letter. Whatever rules they want to impose and they make clear to us, we will comply with. And it's like any game that's being played, you got to know what the rules are, and then you got to follow the rules. In this instance, the rules that they're suggesting are in place were not rules that are in the rule book. I mean, they're just not. So, but I think that honestly, that everything about this case was, in the presentation of it, was respectful, transparent, and I have no complaints about any of that. Now it's just a matter of trying to get a resolution and make sure the pathway forward is clearly understood.
Clark Brewster with us. and the provisional suspension handed down yesterday. Uh, when is the full hearing, and the way in which you're framing this? Uh, it sounds like you're hopeful that you can mitigate uh, the penalties, as it were. So when is the next step, and what are the potential outcomes of that?
Well, I'm confident, honestly, Steve, very confident if we have another hearing that HISA will abandon much of the original notice because they put on no evidence of a number of these horses at all, and there was no issues that I could possibly conceive of. In one instance, I'll give you an example. In one instance, they sorted a horse that seemed to have some neurological problems. They placed him on the vets list and said that Rudy worked the horse months later without letting him know. No, it went to a different trainer. The owner laid it up for months and treated the horse and then sent to another trainer. They just misunderstood who and that was one of the accusations. I think they'll abandon many of the alleged horse issues and focus on one or two or three. I don't know, but I'm confident we'll win. I mean, really confident because I know the facts pretty well, and I know the rules that apply here. And ultimately, in the substantive hearing, I can't imagine a court saying this man did anything other than deeply care and attend to his horses. But a provisional suspension changes the dynamics because, I mean, he can be wiped out. I mean, so we have that's got to be part of any decision tree. What's happening to your client and what can we do to resolve this, and we're going to work hard to do that. But if we don't get it resolved, then we all have other options.
During this, two follow-ups to that, during this period between yesterday and the next presentations, did the horses have to be redistributed?
HISA has a provisional suspension policy that allows the trainer to continue to care for his horses. And he can walk, jog the horses. He can't breeze or enter horses or race them, but he can care for them, maintain them. I mean, we've had situations prior to that particular policy where, a trainer that's had horses their entire career, he's got a full barn, he's escorted from the premises, and I mean, the horses are at risk. And so a policy got put in place that allows the trainer to continue to care for his horses and make a more, transitional decision with regard to whether he's going to continue to be a trainer or not. I mean, what this does, honestly, it strikes right at the very heart of the claiming game in any major venue. The one horse in particular had been on the vets list for other trainers on a number of occasions for Rudy claimed the horse. And the same issues they were asserting against Rudy would have been evident on the other vet listings for the other trainers. We didn't throw anyone under the bus, nor would I, because I think they were doing the same things and trying to care for the horse, and they were doing it as they've been trained and been doing it for decades. So this is a matter that all trainers can learn from with regard to what is expected here, and hopefully whatever comes from this will be memorialized in a hard and fast rules so trainers can see it and abide by it.
Well, and that actually somewhat answers another follow-up, which was, what is the cautionary element here that other outfits, need to be aware of?
Well, if you read the ruling, I mean, the judge said that an attending vet must look at the horse within 48 hours of the horse being placed on the vet's list. A lot of times, a vet's listing doesn't mean the horse is unsound. I mean, he could have, been shot at a, hot nail. It could be, he could have got cast in the stall and was fine the day after that. So the idea that he has to have a full examination by a veterinarian close in time listing. And a lot of times what's happening with the horse, it just needs to be walked for a while to make sure what's going on, while you get a better history in making a determination rather than immediately. So I don't think it's, something that would normally be placed in a hard and fast letter rule, but given Judge Leon's ruling here, we're not going to take any kind of chances. We'll do exactly what he's suggesting has to be done. And I think other trainers ought to read that ruling pretty carefully to make sure they're not caught in the same kind of crossfire.
Well, exactly. And then in terms of the full bore hearing, is it back in front of Judge Leon, or is there a different court in essence that you present?
No, they pick up. So the arbitrators, the IP officials, who they're picked and selected by HISA. So there'll be a new one. So we've got to go ahead and re-educate a new decision maker here. I think that's kind of a difficult thing for a trainer. The cost and expense of having counsel and experts appear at the hearing is nearly prohibitive. We don't have a choice.
No, there's no choice in that at this point. Clark Brewster discussing the situation with Rudy, and there's not a lot we can do at this point to just wait out. And the owners, not only does this bring Rudy's future in question, but you've got owners that we're anticipating. Although as it happens, these couple of weeks are a quiet week in a couple of weeks in New York. So from that perspective, racing doesn't really get back going until the end of the month. But still, owners. This puts owners in an awkward position too, Clark, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And the claiming game, where you claim a horse and you're able to run back, relatively short period of time at racetracks that have limited meets like Belmont or Saratoga. I think this kind of ruling will have a very, very negative impact on people that are willing to put their money up and to engage in the claiming game. And Rudy's already hearing that. I really think that this is the kind of thing that's going to very much chill any owner or trainer that's going to engage in a claiming game, because obviously these horses that are in the claiming game many times have some issues, just like any athlete that's played 13 years in the NFL or whatever. I mean, you have issues that you may be sound to race, but you're still managing things with horses that can campaign that hard, and that's why you see intermittent vet listings for them. But the people that are engaged in this in New York are highly skilled horse men and women that have been doing it for years and just love horses. Rudy's one of them. But owners, I think they're going to be chilled. I certainly am. I mean, I've been an active claiming owner in New York for years, and Kentucky and Oklahoma. But I'm like, I don't think I want to engage in it. I'm, seeing this really causes me deep concern about the business model of that kind of activity.
Well, there's certainly, I don't want to say conspiracy theorists that that would suggest that certain percentage of industry leaders, as it were, would love to eliminate the lower levels and the claiming game.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't have any actual factual basis to hold that opinion. But I'm just saying that horse racing, as we know it, when you go to a Friday card or a Thursday card, and it's made up 60-70% of claiming horses that we all have great admiration for. They might have gone and now they're running in the claiming ranks, but we've come to know them and know the form well, and know the trainer that claimed in the last race. I mean, all those kinds of things that handicappers take into account and have a love for the sport. I do believe that that part of the industry is not only waning, will be non-existent in a relatively short time.
Well, we could introduce. Not going to spend time on it, but this whole ratings system concept. One of its potential features and benefits is that it could change that dynamic essentially, and reduce the appearance of what of what a horse dropping down the claiming ladder, and how that appears. Well, Clark, it sounds like you've got an angle to pursue, and a course of defense for Rudy, and we'll see which way it goes in coming weeks.
Thank you, Steve. Listen, we have to embrace whatever the rules are, and we have to embrace the people enforcing those rules and the people that are making decisions about these controversies, because that is the law, and that's where we are. And my attitude has always been to point out where this is wrong with regard to the interpretation of the rule, or tell them how clearly we've complied with it one way or the other. I had numerous conversations with counsel on the other side before this hearing, trying to find common ground. I will continue to do that because that's the world we're in, and that's the rules of the game at this time.
Clark Brewster on the Rudy Rodriguez case. I'm not going to let you go without a hearty congratulations on, now it's got to be 10 days ago or so, 2 weeks ago, induction into the Oklahoma Horse Racing Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you, Steve. It was an honor. I was humbled by the recognition. I thank you for that.
Well, and a couple of the Silver Goblin, Senior Buscador, John Richter from Richter family, and the great Jim Byers, all part of that group. And then I because the objective is to put some money in people's pockets for Christmas, gun twirl tonight right here in Remington with Eric Asmussen in the irons, trying to break the maiden. What do you think?
Anything that Eric's riding, I just know he gives 100% effort, and he's such a gritty, smart rider, and it gives us a real shot. I would say that filly has a good shot tonight.
She's an older filly, a 4-year-old. She's hit some boards. Time for her to graduate. And should also mention that you and the Levisons have got Gigante on Saturday in the Diliberto.
That's right. Yeah, he likes that track, and hopefully I think he's got a 2-win streak going, and hopefully he'll have an opportunity to win that.
I tell you, he's been very quietly, Clark. He's been terrific. He's made $1.3 million, and he runs. 20. This is his 29th career start. He's a horse too, right? I mean, he's not a gelding. You're going to go on with him?
Yeah, not this time. Colt, one of his top runners, actually. If you look at it, I think he's 4-3, and also he's won stakes on dirt and grass.
Got to get him. It's funny. He's got to get him. He won the Secretariat. What is that? 2 years ago by now? Yeah, because he's a 5-year-old, so it would have been 2 years ago. So he does have great at stake. You would have there been any interest in him to stand him somewhere?
Yes, we've had a couple of conversations. We rather than he's sound and doing great. We thought we'd campaign one more year, and then we'll look at the options next year.
Nice. Well, he's bred like a stallion, not this time, out of the Empire Maker mare, and the the late Bill Backer and his wife Ann Mudge Backer, Smitten Farm. A great heritage from Snit, and he deserves a chance to stand somewhere.
Bill had a box just in front of me at Saratoga for years, and I just love the man. Great guy. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to buy this horse, right? Because Bill was the breeder.
Well, that was money well spent, and we'll see. Looking forward to that card on Saturday as well. Right. Saturday night here at Remington, and Saturday afternoon at Fairgrounds. Clark, thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate it, and best of luck with this. And there's certain, as I said at the start of the show, I heard from somebody who was stabled with Rudy and would absolutely vouch for his level of care. To me, this seems very procedural. So we'll see where things go. Dick Powell's going to join us, and we'll talk a little more. Monday we recap the HKIR, the action at Happy Valley. Today, let's see how that. As we wait for Dick, let's see how that 8 turned out. That was the 9 in here, candlelight dinner. It's been tough. Been a tough morning, Dick. We're a minute to the 9th race, and Dick the 2-6-12 in here. Dick, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. I'm not getting video on my ADWs with Concom.
Well, I'm not much. I'm not in great shape either. Although here now it's coming up. I think. Let me see. Nope, still the black screen.
Yeah. All right.
No.
Well, it looks like 0 minutes to post, race 9. No favorites today, 0 for 8. With favorites, I thought the 6 was almost a single in the last race, and boom, he got left at the gate. That was a fan. And Maxime Guillon, great French rider,
stayed around.
Race 8. You got one more race. Race 9, we're going to go 2 turns. I think the 2 South Star is a legitimate favorite, despite carrying high weight. Draws well, gets Zach Burton, does really well at Happy Valley. There's lots of things to like about him. He's, I think, around 3-1 in the bet. No, 9-5 now. He came down. And then I played exactas 2 with 6. Super Unicorn, who's right now 9-2, the Red Hot Mark Noonan, and Andrea Azzini, who won a race prior to this. And number 12, Mighty Steed, Francis Liu, and Holly Doyle. This horse has a lot of speed, gets in light, draws post 8. I think Heidi will have no trouble getting it forwardly placed. And if she can get it to relax, I think they got a shot at hanging on, or hopefully hang on for second. So I'm going to play 2 with 6-12 here in race 9 coming up any second.
Very good. All right. And it has been, when you say no favorites, it's not only been favorites. We had an $80 winner, a $60 winner, a $30 winner. The fur has been flying pretty much, all evening. It's pretty crazy.
And a lot of horses, because coming up the rail's been not really open, but as they stand wide, a couple of riders, Richard Kingscote, just stayed down there, and suddenly they had no one around them. Were able to win and hang on. Zach Burton had a brutal trip. I think it was race 5. He was on one of the likely horses and turns home, just inside, tries to tip off the rail, no room, searching. He has 4 or 5 in front of him, no space, can't go outside, can't go inside. Just had to eat it. That was it. Got to wait for another day. And that happens, with full fields. It sounds good to save ground, but sometimes clear and losing ground is a little bit better. But even Zach got caught up in traffic.
Well, we can guess what's going on. It's very. I thought when I first tried to pull it up, I thought
I know.
it was me, and but no. All right.
Yeah, I went to a different feed, and it's been the same thing. And
and their website too, right? This is
yes,
this is unusual. All right. Something's.
we had a crazy thing in the Cup on Sunday that I read about the next day. There was a protest
About running out on the track. Yeah, that was nuts. They tackled him, and yeah.